This week's sponsor is Anchor.fm. In our experience at Podcasters, Anchor is the easiest way to make a podcast. Anchor gives you everything you need in one place for free, which you can use right from your phone or computer. They have creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast so it sounds great, and they'll distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard everywhere: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and many more. If you're interested in monetizing your podcast, Anchor sets you up with sponsors with no minimum listenership. What could be easier than that? Download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
Welcome back to the Plus Ultra My Hero Academia podcast, where you get all things MHA, and every once in a while we'll sprinkle in some other anime. I am DJ Grand, and we're here with the all might of MHA podcasters, Autumn.
Hi.
And our producer, Ryan.
Oh my goodness, it's me.
Oh my. So we're going to finish up season 1 with episodes 12 and 13. And we'll start with the summary for each. And episode 12 is, wow, All Might.
The best. The number one.
The symbol of peace. Which, you are safe because I am here.
It's iconic.
Kind of arrogant.
It's iconic.
It may be iconic, but it's arrogant.
It's iconic.
Oh my goodness!
So, all right, let's hear it. Let's get the summary.
All right.
First of all, let me tell you, this is from fandom.com, so you can go there and read them.
All right, episode 12, All Might. Having run into Ida on his way to the USJ, All Might knows all about the conflict occurring there. He rips off his tie and blazer and he shouts his catchphrase, "Everything will be all right because I am here."
I am here. Gotta say it with...
I don't have the All Might voice. He rushes through the Central Plaza at super speed to recover the injured Eraserhead, defeating the remaining villains there in a flash. He moves on to secure Midoriya, Sue, and Mineta from the clutches of Shigaraki and Nomu. All Might sets them all down at a safe distance and instructs them to escape. Midoriya tries to warn All Might about Nomu's endurance, but the symbol of peace says it will be alright. The students carry Eraserhead away from the area and the battle begins between All Might and the villains. All Might starts by striking Nomu with a California smash, but Nomu... Carolina. It looks like California. Sorry. Carolina smash, but Nomu absorbs the impact and counters with a punch. All Might evades and delivers a punch of his own, but this attack has no effect as well. Shigaraki reveals that Nomu's quirk is shock absorption, and he was made to fight and kill All Might. All Might figures that he can wear Nomu down and uses a powerful reverse suplex on him. While carrying Eraserhead towards the exit, Mineta notices how strong All Might is and he cheers him on. However, Midoriya knows the truth about All Might's limit and worries he will overexert himself. When the smoke from All Might's attacks clears, Midoriya and the others see that Kurogiri has used his warp crate to save Nomu. Instead of burying his body in the sand, All Might sends half of Nomu's body through a portal while he still remains in the suplex position. Nomu...
That's a weird wrestling move. It really is. I mean,
it's so
1,
cool,
2,
though.
3.
It is cool, yeah. Nomu uses the opening to grab onto All Might's weak point while Kurogiri slowly drags him into the warp gate. Alert to All Might's peril, Midoriya rushes over to aid him. Kurogiri cuts Midoriya off and prepares to warp him away, but Bakugo unexpectedly appears and blasts the villain with an explosion before pinning him to the ground. Todoroki arrives and freezes Nomu's body, careful to avoid All Might. He reveals one of the weaker criminals revealed that the League of Villains plans to him. Thanks to the ice, All Might is able to free himself from Nomu's grip. Kirishima appears as well and tries a sneak attack on Shigaraki, but to no avail. Man, that was going to be so cool. That's what he says. Sue Deku and Mineta are happy to see the others helping All Might and are noticed by Uraraka and the rest of the class near the entrance. Some move to help carry Eraserhead, and 13 instructs the others to hide and allow All Might to handle the rest. Shigaraki is disappointed with Kurogiri, who has allowed Bakugo to exploit his weakness. Bakugo realizes that Kurogiri has neck armor to protect his physical body and uses the smoke from his quirk to hide it, but he cannot resist physical attacks if they're well aimed. Bakugo has him pinned down by this armor and threatens to blow him up if he moves. Shigaraki compliments the students on their efforts and orders Nomu to save Kurogiri. The students watch in horror as Nomu breaks free from his icy prison and regenerates his frozen limbs. The monster attacks Bakugo, but the young hero is saved when All Might takes the brunt of Nomu's attacks. Shigaraki is impressed with All Might and begins a monologue about how heroes have caused widespread violence throughout the world, but All Might replies that Shigaraki and the villains don't have any noble cause for their actions. Even with his powers declining rapidly, All Might engages Nomu in a ferocious fistfight. He goes beyond 100% to vigorously bypass the limit of Nomu's endurance. They trade blows and battle across the USJ at incredible speeds, creating shockwaves with each strike to keep anyone else from getting near them. After throwing Nomu onto the ground from high in the air, All Might lands and gives his final speech to the monster. He tells Nomu to remember the words plus ultra and delivers a dynamic smash to send the villain flying out of the USJ defeated. All the villains watch in awe of All Might's strength. The symbol of peace explains it took 300 blows to defeat Nomu, but it would only taken 5 in his prime. He continues to claim that the League of Villains are finished, much to Shigaraki's displeasure.
All right. So, Autumn, what'd you think?
All I really remember of that is Kirishima's. That would have been so cool. And the All Might's would have taken 300 mighty blows or whatever.
You don't remember the All Might fight. That's the whole episode.
That is the episode.
It is so good.
So, how about you?
Oh,
Ron?
I mean, I hate this episode. It's so bad. It's so boring. No, it is so great. I mean, this is like the culmination of what like My Hero is, and like introducing the first season, because even as like Deku, knows All Might and getting through this, and like all the kids going up, it's like this is the first time you see All Might stepping up to the plate, being a pro hero, and duking it out with a villain. Like no threshold too. This is why the Namu is like a really cool character, since it's a throwaway character. So just so awesome the way they like have the like. They call it like Sakuga. It's like the way they animate this. That's when it's like super fast paced. They're like throwing them up and all that stuff, and things are exploding everywhere and stuff like that. But yeah, I remember watching this and I'm like, My Hero is pretty awesome.
No, the fight was good. I mean, I did like the All Might showing his stuff and like you said, stepping up to the plate. What I came away with is what's his name? All hands on deck.
Shigaraki.
He was kind of philosophical on this episode, where he was basically saying that the kids were using violence as an excuse to be heroes, and which leads me to the question: can a hero be violent? Is it possible to still be a hero and be violent? That's what he brings up.
He talks about that. Well, I think it's All Might that brings it up in the next episode when he basically breaks down what Shigaraki's like kind of his whole ideal of being a whatever villain hero and all that, where it's just like he just enjoys violence. And it's like, I think it's in the next episode where he just says like, he figured me out, like that he doesn't care about, just beating, UA and doing all these things. He just wants to cause destruction. So
that's a nihilist.
Yeah.
First of all, they're playing loose with what a hero is, because the true definition of a hero is an ordinary person who acts extraordinary in certain tough circumstances. by that definition, the only true hero in this entire show was Midoriya in the beginning before he
Yeah.
got a quirk, because he was ordinary. And he still acted extraordinary when he went to try to save Bakugo against that sludge villain. All these, and this goes for Superman. Yeah, I mean, these are not really heroes because there's nothing extraordinary about them. That's their normal. So when they act, they're not acting extraordinary. That's just normal. So I get what he's trying to play at here, because he's trying to say that you guys think you're good, but you're using violence and you're crossing a moral line, or could be. I'm not saying they are. I'm saying he's saying this, that you could be crossing a moral line and going from good to bad. The question is, are they? Are they crossing a moral line?
And they are young kids, so it just like in reality and stuff like that, you have no idea where their trajectory of what they're going to be doing later on, which it's like these kids that have some problems, maybe Bakugo, but I don't know, you know, like not everyone's going to have a happy ending if they grow up and decide to do different things, and this could go with anybody in the class, so there is a thing about that.
Yeah. Well, before I give my answer, what about you, Adam? What do you think? Do you think are they right to use violence?
Well, I think it depends on the circumstances.
It
I mean,
absolutely does.
They came in to try to
Yeah,
murder someone.
they came in to kill All Might. I think
Yeah.
it's.
They had
Okay.
an
think they
agenda.
have.
Okay, let's take this away from the fake heroes and go back into reality. Look at a police officer. They use violence to stop bad guys. They have to.
Yep.
That doesn't make them bad. Not at all. It's how they use violence. Do they use it for good or they use it for bad? And I think that's where All Hands, what's his name? Shigaraki is wrong on this. Because just using violence in itself does not make you bad. It's how you use it. And those kids were using it the way they should be.
Yeah.
It was controlled. It was against only those who initiated. Because the fight was brought to them by the bad
They
guys.
just wanted to train.
True.
They got the best training
But
session
that's
ever.
true. That is the best training, actually.
I'm pretty sure they bring it up later, but Class 1B like kind of makes a snarky comment about it. They're like, "Oh, 1A always gets the villains," and it's like they like turn and they're like, "You want them?"
Yeah.
jealous. That's like you get more attention, and that's all it is. It's
Yeah, I
attention
know.
seekers.
It's funny.
But the point I'm trying to make is that the kids are they're not being bad. They're actually being good
Yeah.
by using violence to stop bad people. The ones see the definition of evil action is initiating violence, and they only went against those who initiated violence. They didn't do it against anybody randomly.
Yeah.
And it would be the villains that would do that anyways. They were the ones that would just use violence for their own ends. So the point brings up a good philosophical question, and I'm glad that Shigaraki said it, but I do think he's wrong. He's coming from a wrong premise.
Yeah. Well, and that goes with like what we said about Todoroki and all that, because he like basically has no problem through all this thing until like kind of maybe a little bit towards the end, but it's like, you know, he could have murdered all these people that he was confronted with, and he told them straight up, and just to get information to help his other peers and stuff, he's just like, this is how it's going to go down. And that's like, you know, what he wasn't planning on doing, but he honestly knew what to do in this situation where it got, you know, notched up to, you know, 100.
You're right, and it was also controlled violence. He only did it against those who were bad and
he could have
initiating
just
the
froze
violence.
them to death. But
That's right.
he just
That
stopped
also
them.
proves that he knows the line and he can walk it, because he could have just killed them easy, like you said. And you know what? I think he would have been morally justified too, because they threatened their lives, and he was just trying to stop the threat. But it's like,
yeah, they weren't gonna just, you know, put him in a, you know, just full Nelson, being like, noogie.
You're right. They weren't going to go easy on him at all. You're absolutely right. But yet, Todoroki did. He showed mercy, a particle of mercy, and sometimes that is the color of right. A Rush song.
Oh my god.
Wow, very well done.
For for that whole thing, it's like a lot of like action and shonen. They kind of play on the whole like, oh, the villains attack and kill all these people. Then the heroes have to choose. Oh, are you gonna show a bunch of mercy, or are you gonna like kill them? I think like this is one of those shows where they don't do it annoyingly, because I'm going to call out Goku. Like literally Frieza will kill a whole bunch of planets and then he'll be like, oh, I'll let you go 4 times. Dude.
Forever. They're
yeah,
like best
it's
friends.
like, come on.
Yeah.
What show is that we talking
Dragon
about now?
Ball. And then
Dragon Ball, okay.
but
Totally,
like things like
on the other spectrum of just like how insane anime
Yeah,
and these kind of concepts can be, where it's like,
it
oh,
gets
you just
annoying.
murdered an entire planet.
But we're gonna let you go.
It's
And it's like, okay, I think that guy doesn't deserve a little mercy.
Yeah.
And it's like, I get the first time, but the second time and the third time, it's just, it gets annoying.
No, I
And-
think that's part of being good, is walking that line and then who deserves mercy and who doesn't. And Todoroki did not have to do that, but it shows that he's a good person, that he did
Mhm.
show them mercy if they gave him the information he wanted.
Well, I don't want to forget this like thought too, since it's basically in the next episode, but I don't know his name because they don't really introduce him, but there's a pro hunter that comes into the last episode where he shoots Shigaraki.
Oh, Sniper, whatever
yeah,
his name is.
and like he basically, because he's obviously like, that's his quirk, I guess, is he's a just sniper shot, and he just not dismembers, but it's like he just disengages them in every non-lethal way. And it's like, well, if you could have because he like shoots him in the arm, both arms and legs and all this stuff, it's like,
yes.
you could definitely have just popped him in the head.
You're absolutely right. Well, I guess we got to know if he's a good aim or not. But
I'm pretty sure he is, because he
No, if we,
shot
if we
like
run-
Kaminari.
everybody
Yeah,
else
I
in
was
the
like,
if you run from that
Shit,
premise,
that was
no, you're
on
absolutely right.
purpose.
And that was
That's
like
right.
the closest target.
yeah, I'm
to,
pretty sure that was on purpose.
So it's like even like these are the higher ups too. That
Mhm.
it goes to show it goes up the ladder and the UA. At
No,
least.
well,
So,
did he? What's his name? All hands.
Shigaraki.
Did he deserve mercy?
yeah,
'Cause,
that's what we don't know.
It's a good question. I would say
'Cause
no,
he is
because he brought violence, pain, evil into that. That's their sanctuary, and he violated that sanctuary.
Yeah.
And as of this point, it's like you don't understand why he hates All Might so much. He wants to kill like the ultimate hero, and he is a villain, but he's not the best villain. And there's obviously,
Well, that's
and
an
even
ironic term, best villain.
yeah, but he's not the strongest, I would say, because even he brought stronger people with him or things with him, and you could even say, his one buddy, like his partner guy, the warp dude.
Korogiri. Yeah.
I mean, like that guy's he's pretty strong too. I mean, and All Might too understands, like, there's like this whole other fold that you don't even see, that the pro heroes know that there is, one for all.
Yeah, and the students don't
You
know
know.
that yet. Yeah.
And it's like, so there is other bigger bads behind these guys. And, All Might's like, I just beat this one dude, but I could definitely beat your ass. You know what I mean? Like, you are really not a
Oh,
problem.
those-
You're just catching me at such a bad time.
You're absolutely right. No, oh yeah, he was kind of
Yeah,
drained,
it was a bad time.
but it just
But
goes.
even when the pro heroes came out, it's like, this is you're nothing. You know?
No, you're right. It shows once again. You're right that they did show mercy, but Arya brought up that he didn't have to.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That he was justified in ending him right there because of
Mhm.
what he did.
Yep.
But then again,
There wouldn't be a
that
plot.
would have that would have killed
That's
the
how
plot.
it is.
It goes with a lot of these things, and this is kind of how finales always end, because you're always like, oh, this could have happened. This person probably should have just died or did die
And
or
it's
this
like,
and all
no,
that.
it wouldn't be plot.
Because that's even with it might have been in this, or it happened in a bunch of them, where it was always the last minute things we just talked about, where
Mhm.
like they get basically centimeters to the person's face,
Yeah.
or like moment of impact, and then somebody shows up a half a mile away and like, you better stop. And it's like, even this goes back 2 or so episodes, but it's like, even when All Might shows up, it's like, I think Shigaraki, that's when he's about to
Yeah, and
get-
he like
it's
stops, and it's like, you
like-
could have done it.
It's like, you really could, like, you probably would have died, because All Might would have gone insane and just
No, you're
yeah,
right,
you
but I
would have
think-
died, but
I
like,
think he stopped because his target wasn't the kids; it was
True,
Arya.
but-
I
Yeah.
think that's why.
it's
He
just
could've.
it's just there's a lot of these things that happen these last.
No, you're right. And
so.
I'm the philosophy nerd, and that's what I get off on is
But
trying
it's like,
to
see, that's what I'm saying.
get
It's like,
these
are you
dilemmas.
true evil? If you're true evil, you would just like, all right, let's go. And you're waiting for your prize, so
I
make
would
your
call him
prize
more
even
of
better.
an amateur than
Yeah.
That's why I'm saying when
Yeah.
he
He's
gets
got to
older,
graduate to senior
Yes.
class.
yeah,
Exactly,
he gets so
exactly.
he gets.
He's no
gets
Joker
better.
yet.
Oh, yeah. And my last quote, not quote, but note on this is great JoJo reference. It's
Which
awesome.
one?
You know, just the aura.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, come on.
They actually make one in season 3. And do you remember when they're doing the training camp and they're running through the forest in season 3 where the pussycats are there and they're like, run through this huge forest and and then you get lunch afterwards. You remember that part?
I mean, kind of, but like, what's the reference?
Okay, basically, like Kirishima goes up to it and he goes, "Ooh."
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, anything with flashing punches,
It's
like,
it's JoJo.
it's JoJo
It's
reference.
evil. Evil.
I'm good.
Why must we do this? It gives me indigestion. It's so evil.
It's everywhere. It's
It's-
everywhere.
You're right.
So
Evil is
in-
everywhere.
No.
So
Okay.
embedded.
Yeah, you don't even notice it after
Yeah.
a while.
I think there's only one pro hero on this podcast. 2 villains,
That may be true.
according to you.
But all I want to say is, just for reference, JoJo is evil.
No.
All right, let's move on to the ultimate
the
final
last
here
episode
for
of the
season 1.
season. Okay. Episode 13, Upon Each of Their Hearts. In the mountain zone of the USJ, Denki Kaminari is taken hostage by a villain who was unaffected by his quirk. The villain threatens to kill Kaminari if the others don't surrender, but admits to have a soft spot for him, for electric types like him. It's like a Pokemon thing. Momo realizes that this must be the same villain jamming their communications. Jiro attempts to distract the villain by talking while she attempts to plug one of her earphone jacks into the aiming gear on her legs. The electric criminal sees through her plan and warns them again, forcing the two to surrender. Meanwhile, All Might has defeated the Nomu, but his hero form is at its limit. He is immobilized and tries to bluff in order to scare Shigaraki and Kurogiri away. Shigaraki panics after witnessing Nomu's defeat, believing they have no chance to kill the symbol of peace. However, Kurogiri notes that significant amount of damage to All Might and reassures his colleague that they can still kill All Might. They attack, but Midoriya breaks his legs using One for All to intercept them in time. He prepares to use a smash on Kurogiri's weak point, but he warps Shigaraki's hand through his body near Midoriya's face. Before he can use his quirk to harm Midoriya, Shigaraki is shot in the arm. The villain holding Kaminari hostage is also shot. Both were shot by the pro hero Snipe, who has arrived with Tenya Ida to save everyone. The heroes spread out and use their quirks to defeat any remaining villains. Seeing as they are outnumbered, Shigaraki declares that their mission is finally officially over. He is shot several times by Snipe, and then Kurogiri tries to use his quirk to help both of them escape. Kurogiri is slowed down by 13's quirk, but he eventually transports himself and Shigaraki away. Midoriya laments that he was unable to do anything to help, but All Might reassures Midoriya that the few vital seconds brought by Midoriya's intervention saved his life. Kirishima goes to check on Midoriya's legs, but the pro hero Cementos stops him to prevent the young man from seeing All Might's weak form. He sends Kirishima to gather his classmates by the exit. All Might thanks Cementos for concealing his identity, and Cementos replies that he and Midoriya should have their wounds treated at the infirmary. Kurogiri transports himself and Shigaraki to the secret hideout. An injured Shigaraki groans about his wounds and informs his master that the information they received about All Might's weakening was false. On a blank monitor, a mysterious voice tells Shigaraki that the report wasn't false and Shigaraki was simply overzealous. A second voice asks about Nomu, and Kurogiri regretfully informs him that he could not find him. The original voice instructs Shigaraki to gather the villainous elite and that the young villain will eventually be feared by the world. Class 1A gathers outside the USJ, and the investigator Namasa Tsukauchi informs them that other than Midoriya, no students sustained major injuries. The students discuss their experiences fighting villains amongst themselves, and Sue inquires about 13 and Eraserhead. The investigator tells them that 13 and Eraserhead were critically injured but are not in life-threatening condition. After receiving a report about the police capturing Nomu, the investigator leads to the nurse's office. There he finds All Might and Midoriya being treated by Recovery Girl. All Might notices Tsukuyoshi as his best friend, or introduces Tsukuyoshi as his best friend on the police force and reveals he knows all about All Might's identity. Midoriya thanks All Might for saving them, but All Might replies with praise for the young heroes in training. He believes each of them fought bravely at the USJ and will make fine pro heroes one day. Later that night, Midoriya is released from Recovery Girl's infirmary with his wounds treated. He finds Uraraka and Ida waiting for him outside the school and walks home with them. Elsewhere, an unidentified figure standing on a rooftop stares down at the city.
First of all, I think Electric Criminal would be a great name for a band.
I agree. That's not a bad band name.
It's pretty good.
Electric Criminal.
So, Autumn, what do you think of the final episode of season 1?
It was mostly just a "Where are we now?" episode, like afterwards the fight.
They were tying up the loose ends.
Yeah.
And then, of course, they had to leave the little cliffhanger for
Stain.
season
Yeah.
2.
Stain, but that's like
They left the stain
after.
on the last episode.
Yeah. And then like he doesn't come at the beginning of season 2 and you're like, where is he? And then he comes and you're
That
like,
was
okay.
the whole point of that.
I
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
it. Left a stain. I get it. It's a good little drop there.
Just have to say.
So what you think there, Ryan?
Yeah, it's it's basically just like the come down of all the stuff that was happening in the previous episodes, but it's nice that they didn't pack in the pro heroes like taking care of everything in the last episode. I think in like retrospect they kind of could have made that all one episode, and then this just being like, hey, everyone's okay. So it's like it kind of leads you into at least a little bit of action, and you see all the heroes, and like some of the pro heroes you get to see later on, and some are just like there, but always like off screen doing like their thing and stuff. And I just always like that. I just like the pro heroes a lot. They're really cool.
Mhm.
Well, I like the introduction of One for All. It's the first time. Isn't that the first
or
time?
All for One.
Is it All for
Yeah,
One? That's
yeah.
it.
Oh yeah,
We did-
about that. I don't know if you noticed, but there's 2 voices there.
I was gonna say like,
That's important.
yeah,
There's 2 of
so
them.
We only know about One for All,
Or All for One,
basically.
yeah.
Or All for DJ.
It's my fault. I didn't even say it.
But
that
yeah,
time. It's my
he's
fault.
important. He's very important.
Yeah.
He
I'm just
comes
gonna call
later.
the Three Musketeers from now on and be done with it.
No, that I totally forgot about that. And I'm like, All for One, we get into that later, but I'm like, there was another person. Then I almost thought there'd be like a bunch, like
Mm-mm. There's
but
2.
There's just 2.
Mhm.
Okay, cool. I'm looking forward to finding that out.
Hmm.
I don't know. To me, it was a very letdown. I think the penultimate episode was better than the ultimate episode. So.
Well,
the
it's a "Where are
closing-
we there"
yeah.
episode. It's
Still,
"Where are we
but-
now?"
It's the
It
end
was-
of the season.
Yeah, it's
No,
like
I
you
it.
like honestly how
it
they
needs to put you down.
yeah,
It needs to
honestly how
calm
it
you
is, it's
down.
kind of like it kind of teased like to Stain and all that, and
Yeah.
it's like it's like continuing on.
Typical anime.
Yeah, and it's more
shonen
so
anime.
like probably because like they don't know if it's gonna get picked up for another season, so they gotta kind of
Well,
end
now
it.
they're like,
Yeah, and then
we're
at the
good.
last episode, it's like, could to be continued season 2, and it's like, okay, you got confirmed. Nice. Like for the most recent season, like season 5 was already confirmed before the last episode of season
Yeah.
4 release, so it was like, okay, we already know.
yeah. I mean, this was, it's like it was doing well in Shonen Jump, and then
Yes.
it got into, the anime,
And then they got
and obviously
picked
once
up, yeah.
that got rolling, it was
yeah.
now, we're gonna see it to its end for
Mhm.
sure. So.
You got anything else, Ryan, before we talk about the whole season?
Cementos, I really wish he was in more. He's really cool.
I like him
He's
in
hard-headed.
season 2.
He's just so like he has like his part in this episode's like, I mean, it's nice, and he's just like such a cool character, and he does get a little cool thing later, and but yeah, he's just a cool pro hero.
Mhm.
That's what I like about the pro heroes. You see so many of them, but you don't see a lot of them, go to their full potential
Mhm.
and stuff. So
Yeah.
it's and when they look cool, like he just looks like a cool character. You always like kind of want to see that, but
Mhm.
sometimes they give you that, sometimes they don't.
Well, there's a plethora of heroes and
Yeah.
villains for that matter,
Mhm.
and there's so many of
And
them.
the
that-
villains too is
Yeah.
like same on the other side.
Yeah,
so.
you just there's no way they would have time to give the backstories and everything of all of them. I mean, they each get a little bit.
Well,
I
that's
mean, but
kind of how the spin-off vigilantes, they kind of go in more of like different villains
probably
and
where
heroes.
it belongs. I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah, it's like a spin-off. So like they show more of like Ida's brother, and they show a Stain backstory, and it's like stories that
But
they
is
didn't.
Samantas in there? Is he just like
I
a
don't think
sidewalk?
so. I don't think so, but it shows more of like the what are these pro heroes doing before UA, because Midoriya is not the only person in the world.
Yeah.
So
Well, they're not the first class.
yeah, they're not the
obviously,
first class
so-
either. So
So, what did we think about the whole season? Season 1. What did we like it? Not like it?
it is important for the overall story. But
yeah, it's just the introduction.
Yeah,
to
it's
the
a
show.
whole
So
introduction.
it's really great, but I mean, I wasn't
It
really
gets
locked
better.
in till the end.
Yeah.
basically till this episode we're talking about. It's where I really like the beginning's really cool to get you in, and but you know, it's until it gets to the villains and all that stuff, because that's the whole build up to this whole show. You know, they're like, we're being a hero, I want to be a hero, and it's like, well, heroes have villains. You know, you're so
Mhm.
like programmed into that whole where we already have, you know, Batman and Joker, you know,
Mhm.
like all these other people that already have bad guys, and now we're introduced to characters that even All Might, you don't even know who his enemies are. So you
Mhm.
finally get that into the end, and you know, it still goes on to a bunch of cool stuff.
No, I
so-
think you're right, and I think they did good by waiting until the end to really hook you up,
Yeah.
because with the exception of the disgusting hair swallowing incident, I kind of liked how it showed Midoriya's origin. I mean, this is
Yeah.
about
It
Midoriya
is,
ultimately.
and
yeah.
you got to see
And
that.
yeah,
It's
exactly.
important,
and,
yeah.
and you got to build that up. And I also like, having watched the later seasons, how you can see the difference between
Yeah, the
in
character
the
development.
beginning
Yeah, it's
and then at
important.
the end. So I think all that was absolutely necessary.
One of the
even if it did seem kind of boring.
Yeah, one of the most important episodes, I think, for both Midoriya and Bakugo's character is Deku versus Kacchan Part 1, because Deku versus Kacchan Part 2 is later. But that's important to get to, because...
good point.
Yeah, it's important.
No, it is. And I
It's a
think
good
this,
fight,
This
but-
all builds
It's
up
an
to later.
introduction.
I like the writing so far. I mean, it's good. It's nothing that's too bad. They do sprinkle in some philosophy in there, and that's what I need. And good for them. I think you got to take your hats off to someone. If you can pull that off in a popular fictional story, then you are a good writer.
Mhm.
Very true. Can I say I forgot one joke that's really
Sure.
funny is the Todoroki thing at the end where they're all like congregated and like talking.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like he finds out that the invisible girl is with him the whole time. He's like, I could have frozen her.
Even though she was there.
like he like out of, and it's like since that happened like last episode or whatever, or 2 or something, where he just was owning everybody.
yeah,
and he,
you're
like,
like,
basically
I
could
didn't know
have
she was
almost
there.
killed a student.
Well,
But
had he done that, he would have saw her form for once. He
That's
would know
true.
what she looks
And
like. so.
he's just like, who is that?
but it is they even going back to the beginning of all these, it's like you do forget belly button dude
Yeah.
and her.
Laser Nathan.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
they're
it's like-
there.
That's another stupid
Oh,
quirk.
Another thing I forgot until you mentioned that, where like you don't really notice it until later, but I do because I like Bakugo. But towards kind of the like endish of the episode, they're kind of like all getting ready to walk back to the school, whatever. And you notice like the like group of friends starting to go together. So like Kaminari and Kirishima go with Bakugo, and Todoroki
Ah.
goes, and Ida goes
They're
next
getting
to
into their
they're
little
going into their
groups.
cliques, yeah. Which I think
That's a
is
good
fun.
point.
That's
yeah.
so high school.
Yeah.
I think
Hey,
it's funny.
They're nailing it, right? You
Yeah.
know?
I think it's funny more so for like Bakugo. He's like all angry, and then like once Kirishima just saw once, like, oh, he's actually not that bad. Okay, come on, let's go follow him and,
And what
annoy
we
him.
talked about in other episodes, he's always had these like just like random one-off friends that are just like whatevers, and now he's actually having like characters and friends that have personalities. And
I saw it kind of as a reflection of his earlier self, because he had those friends that would follow him. Yeah, they were one off, but they would follow him, and now he's got others that will follow him.
but these ones are gonna
Are not
Well, these
gonna.
will stand on their own. They're not the
Yeah.
thrillers that
Yeah.
we're talking about, but they're still following Bakugo.
Yeah.
True.
That's why I thought it was like a little reflection of
And
the earlier
they're
Bakugo.
actually not gonna like follow him wholeheartedly because they always tell
no,
him like, "Don't
I
do
didn't mean to
that."
imply that these guys. Don't
I
have a
know,
will
but
of
it's
their own,
like
but
it's
Like,
different.
why do you always bug Deku?
It's
I think
true.
it's funny. One of the jokes in it's a little earlier. It's when they're heading to go to the Deku versus Kachan fight, and in the bus they're like all talking to him, and they're all just making fun of Bakugo, and then Deku's like, "This is completely different from my whole life." Like he's getting bullied, and it's really
Like, should
funny.
I be happy right now, or is that
he's
gonna
like sitting there
turn
like
me to the dark side? You know? That is funny.
Well, I'm excited for season 2 because I do like
season
the.
2 is so good.
Yeah,
I do
it's
like
good.
the sports festival.
Yeah.
It's not really sports though, but
it's
we'll run
sports
with it.
in that world, I guess.
but
Like
I am
carrying
excited to see
people
that.
on your shoulder. I don't know.
It's more like what they used to do for field day when I was in.
Yeah.
That's not really sports. But anyways, I am looking forward to that, and and for it to get better. Brian, why don't you plug your podcast for everyone? So
Yeah,
we can-
check out Bonsai Chat. You know, it's a fun, nerdy podcast. You know, hopefully we'll talk into some My Hero someday and, you know, some other stuff. So, yeah, check it out on all podcast apps.
all things pop culture. Yes. So please stop by Anchor FM. Check us out, and you see it here, as you probably already know because you're listening to us. Anywhere you get podcast. I guess we can end this by saying, "Go beyond."
Go beyond! Plus Ultra!